Welcome to another Ayehu NG tutorial. In this video, we'll learn how to enrich the patch management process by adding automation to the pre-patching and post-patching segments of that process. Many patch management vendors have very rigid solutions that lack robust customization capabilities. Using Ayehu NG, this video will demonstrate how to add flexibility to your patch management process so that its workflow conforms to your way of doing things instead of the vendor's. One of Ayehu's sales engineers will be narrating the demonstration.
So as Guy so wonderfully explained, patch management and automating different tasks therein, we can run into all sorts of different pain points when it comes to automating that. And, as Guy mentioned, the biggest offender here typically is the rigidity of patch management software. It assumes that you, your team, your organization, and its SOP can conform to the standards and specifics that the developers of that software think are best. With the Ayehu NG solution, though, our platform is conforming to your policy and to your SOP, not the other way around. So let's take a little look today at a workflow that might handle one of these automatic patching processes. As Guy said, we could use any number of sources for the data on which servers and which particular patches we want to apply. But for this example, we're going to be using a change request coming from ServiceNow. But it's important to note that we feature out-of-the-box plug-and-play integrations into other ITSM tools, Jira, Sharewell, all of the BMC products. And with those, or even an Excel spreadsheet, as Guy said, we could be reading information in real time, set up very specific triggers to kick off these automated workflows based on your criteria and start automating patching in a simple and easy way. So in this example, I've got a simple change request here in ServiceNow. Now, under ordinary circumstances, in a scenario like this, perhaps we would have the Ayehu NG platform configured to kick off a workflow when a change request like this is authorized or scheduled. It really doesn't matter because we are able to integrate so seamlessly into tools like ServiceNow. We can in real time read the values of any of these fields on all of these tickets and evaluate them so the exact specific criteria is met before your workflow is executed. But you can see here I've got my configuration item for a particular server, change task in here as well. And here is our change request number. If I head back over to here, I'm going to manually just hard code this here. Like I said, under normal circumstances, this workflow would be executed when particular fields were met there. And if we execute this, what we'll see is a series of activities being executed that will take the current date, add the true start date directly to the change request in ServiceNow, and then pull the information from the change task table. Again, we're able to read all of your standard and custom forms, tables, and fields in your ITSM tools. No need to configure anything special. It's all done automatically. And if you look down at the execution log below, we can see we're able to do things like pull out the task number, pull out the description, the configuration item, in this case, the one particular host that we're going to be applying patches to. But of course, for your own uses, you could have a workflow in Ayehu NG actually reach out to maybe your CMDB or whatever entity it is you'd like and build an entire list of hosts that need to have patches applied based on any criteria whatsoever, right? The important takeaway here is this platform can conform to your needs, not the other way around. And if we move down here, the rest of this workflow is disabled, but we're going to walk through it to show exactly how we would handle something like this. So since we have the host name, we could actually leverage one of our out-of-the-box integrations into a password vault tool. Let's say, for example, Beyond Trust. So with Beyond Trust, we could actually pass that task configuration item variable that contains the host name directly to the activity. We can even put the description here and the exact ServiceNow ticket number directly in here for good record keeping. And then once we pull out the credentials, we can keep on moving. So let's say, for example, we want to create a snapshot of this before the actual patching takes place, which is probably a good idea. We could all agree, right? So leveraging our plug and play VMware activities, we can do just that by filling out a few simple fields here directly in the activity configuration. It's important to note too that we could also use our plug and play integrations into AWS for doing snapshots of EC2 instances. We could also handle Azure virtual machines or GCP even. Moving down, we're actually going to query that host for the operating system. So at this point, obviously, if it's not a Windows machine, this WMI query out to the host is not going to return anything useful at all, which is exactly what's being evaluated here at this if-else branch. So if we look on the left side, we're going to be doing some Windows auto patching, and on the right side would be Linux. So just to take a quick look over here at the right, we could change the catalog task to in progress and actually add some work notes as we get started. We can initiate the SSH session and actually use the credentials pulled from the Beyond Trust password vault activity. We could actually store the exact release in build number from the Linux host that we're doing this update on as well. Elevate our privileges to root so we can issue the actual update commands. And then optionally, let's say we had some sort of Ansible playbook that had some sort of patching, pre-patching processes we wanted to run. Well, we can do all of those here too. Any commands you're issuing manually today or anything you're doing manually today as part of this patching process can all be translated directly into a workflow here. And after that, we could invoke Yum to do an update. If we're on a Debian or Ubuntu-based distribution, of course, we could be using apt. Really doesn't matter. It's entirely flexible and up to you. And then based on the output of that command, let's say, for example, the update was complete. Well, we can update our ticket over here in ServiceNow. Let's say there was some sort of problem for some reason, or let's say there was no packages to be updated at all. Well, we could update the task that way as well. And if there were a problem, we could even do something like revert to the snapshot that we took at the beginning of the workflow. Again, this version is using VMware, but of course we could be using any of the other virtualization platforms we integrate with out of the box as well. So let's go back over to the left side now. So just to kind of mix it up a little, what we've got over here on the left is the same sort of thing. Well, yeah, of course, we're going to change the task state to in progress and add a little note, but we're going to do some other things just so we can all see an example of how this might work. Let's say we only wanted to install a very specific set of patches. Well, here for this example, I'm just hard coding in a table with the patch number over here and an empty status column that will be updating all along the way as we either successfully or unsuccessfully attempt to install the patch. But of course, this table here could be coming from, let's say, a CSV or an Excel file uploaded directly to the ServiceNow ticket or any other source. We're able to download attachments from any ticket using our plug and play ITSM activities. And then with this table, we actually start iterating through each row, looping through each row to pull out the individual patch number, and then we invoke a series of PowerShell commands here. So in these examples, we're pulling out the exact OS build and then actually invoking the install Windows update command to actually install that individual patch. So if we wanted to take an approach where we weren't looping through a table and installing specific patch numbers, of course, all of this could be changed to invoke the more generic general catch-all update commands that just perform any and all available updates. And then lastly, we check on the status of that update to ensure that it was successfully installed. And if it was, we modify that table with the empty status column. We'll add a success cell in there, and if not, well, we can add failure. And then, of course, towards the end, based on the outcome, we can put the catalog task there into a closed complete state, and also add work notes with all of the specific information on the number of patches that were successfully applied. And then, if applicable, we always have the option to also reboot the machine. So now that we took a little look here at the workflow itself, I wanted to take a quick moment to actually show a couple examples of how the Ayehu NG platform actually hooks into these ITSM tools that I mentioned here, ServiceNow, Sharewell, things like that. So let's look at a couple examples. I'm going to open up the ServiceNow module here in the modules and components section of our platform. If I expand the table on the right here, we can see that after configuring an username and password along with an endpoint URL, we're already connected. And then every single table and form and field, doesn't matter if it was vanilla out of the box or one that was created custom by you, is all readily accessible right here in the form and field discovery section. Using this drop down here, anything that I haven't already added to my my cache here for the ServiceNow module is all accessible from this drop down. And clicking on any one of these tables reveals to me binoculars that I can click. It'll do the automatic field discovery. I can then tick this little checkbox and put a preset monitoring interval of my choice. You can see the default here is 10. And what that will do is it'll actually tell the Ayehu NG system any single time that a new record or an existing record is updated on that table or that form, pop it in as a brand new incoming event into Ayehu NG, which will allow us to configure our triggers, read all of the data and fields from that ticket, download any attachments, whatever the case may be. Other platforms, ITSM platforms like Sharewell, are configured in a very similar way. So we'll just take a really quick glimpse at that before I pass it back over to Guy. So let me just click on our Sharewell module here and then open the panel on the right. We can see that in the case of Sharewell, just like ServiceNow, we've got an endpoint, a username, and a password. And in Sharewell, we also have a client ID generated, but our form and field discovery happens much the same way. The rows we see above represent the tables and forms that I'm working with on this particular instance of the Ayehu NG solution. But of course, again, if I click the dropdown, every other table and form is also revealed here below. So, in summary, I hope that we did a good job here today showing you examples of how you may leverage the Ayehu NG automation platform to really take a lot of the pains out of the server patching process. Remember, if there's an API you need to connect to for your patch management software or a command line interface that you can use to talk to it, or even if you're just issuing raw update commands at the Linux terminal or in PowerShell, it can all be leveraged and integrated into a workflow in the Ayehu NG solution.
This concludes our tutorial on how to enrich the patch management process using Ayehu NG. For more information, please visit our support portal at support.ayehu.com.